Welcome to Books in 10. Remember, we're raffling an iPhone when we reach 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, and journey with us into this fantastic book. Share with your friends, and let's create the biggest book community on YouTube together. There's a link to purchase the book in the pinned comments. Enjoy! We are accepting book requests to create content within. Suggest the best titles in the comments. Now let's go! Today we're diving deep into Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace, but specifically we're going to focus on the characters. We've got excerpts covering everything from high society parties and tense family dramas to the chaotic battlefield and moments of quiet reflection. So consider this your shortcut to understanding what makes these characters tick.
You know, War and Peace is often seen as this daunting, massive book. But what's fascinating is how Tolstoy uses even the smallest details to reveal these profound truths about human nature.
Okay, so let's jump right into one of those detailed scenes, Anna Pavlovna's soiree. We're thrown into this world of subtle social maneuvering, where appearances are everything.
Yeah.
What stood out to you in this section?
Well, right from the start, Tolstoy sets the stage for the entire novel with this party. Think about Helene Kuragina's entrance. He describes her smile, her gown, the way the men in the room react to her. It's like he's giving us a masterclass in how image and power operate in this world.
It's true. Helene's this dazzling figure,
Mm-hmm.
but you get the sense that there's a lot more going on beneath that polished surface. Tolstoy uses a technique called indirect characterization.
Yep.
So we're learning about her through everyone else's reactions rather than being told directly. And then we have Prince Andrei, who seems completely disillusioned with this whole scene.
Andrei is a fascinating character. He's deeply cynical, especially about high society and the idea of finding glory in war. He even dismisses Napoleon, calling him a boy born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That scene is really important because it sets up Andrei's search for meaning, a journey that takes him from the battlefield to these moments of quiet introspection.
It seems like his journey might resonate with a lot of people, even today. So many of us are trying to find our purpose in a world that can feel superficial. And in contrast to Andrei's cynicism, we have Pierre Bezukov, who seems to bounce from one pursuit to another, searching for something to believe in.
Pierre's journey is compelling because it reflects Tolstoy's own struggles with these big questions about life. He tries everything, indulging in pleasures, exploring Freemasonry, which, for those unfamiliar, was a fraternal organization that emphasized personal development and moral values. Purpose. He even walks on a ledge to prove something. His search is messy, but it's so relatable because it feels very human.
He's trying on different identities to see which one fits,
Yeah.
right? And then, of course, we have to talk about Natasha Rostova. She's such a vibrant character, full of life and energy.
Natasha really embodies the joy and passion of youth. Tolstoy contrasts her genuine emotions with the calculated lives of many of the other characters. Her love for singing, her intense feelings for Andrei, even her utter devastation after Anatole's betrayal. It's like she's experiencing everything so deeply.
Yes. Her story is like this emotional roller coaster, but Tolstoy is highlighting an important idea here, that true joy might actually come from embracing life fully, even with all of its pain and disappointments. What do you think about that?
I think that's a brilliant insight. And it makes you think about how you're approaching your own life, doesn't it? Are you letting yourself experience things fully, or are you holding back?
That's something I'm definitely going to be pondering. Now, Tolstoy doesn't just focus on individual characters. He also dives into these really complex family dynamics. The Rostovs and the Molkonskys are like these perfectly crafted portraits of 19th century Russian families, each with their own set of values and struggles.
The Rostovs feel like this microcosm of Russian society with their warmth, their financial worries, their children, each with their own distinct personalities. You have Sonia, so quietly devoted, and Nicholas, who's impulsive and driven by a youthful recklessness.
And then there are the parents trying to keep everything afloat. It feels so real. And the Bolkonskys are a much more austere and demanding family.
Exactly. The old Prince Bolkonsky is this incredibly stern figure, obsessed with discipline and legacy, and Princess Maria, with her quiet strength and piety, is always caught between her own desires and her father's expectations.
It's interesting how Tolstoy uses these families, who are so different, to explore these universal themes of love, duty, and the challenges of human relationships. It shows us that even though the circumstances might change, people across time and cultures struggle with many of the same things.
And that's what makes War and Peace so enduring, right? It transcends its historical setting because it speaks to these fundamental aspects of the human experience. But it's not all family drama and social gatherings. Tolstoy also throws us right into the chaos of war. We see the battlefield through the eyes of characters like Nicholas Rostov, and it's a completely different experience.
That scene where Rostov experiences battle for the first time, his confusion, the fear, that rush of adrenaline, it's incredibly vivid. Tolstoy describes it in a way that makes you feel like you're right there in the trenches with him.
And that's because Tolstoy himself experienced war firsthand. He's not romanticizing it. He's showing us the brutality, the confusion, the impact it has on people's lives. But even in the midst of all that chaos, he shows us moments of profound compassion.
That scene with the wounded officer in Tushin's makeshift shelter.
Huh.
It's heartbreaking, but also so powerful. It shows how, even in the most dehumanizing circumstances, there's still this capacity for human connection and kindness.
It's a reminder that war isn't just about strategies and politics. It's about the individual human beings caught up in it. And for me, what's really interesting is how Tolstoy connects these individual experiences back to the larger themes of the novel.
So what does all of this tell us about the human condition? We're seeing these characters grapple with their own desires, searching for meaning, navigating complex relationships, experiencing the horrors of war. It's a lot to process.
Tolstoy isn't giving you the answers. He's encouraging you to think critically about these questions. And that's what makes War and Peace such a rewarding read. It's a journey of discovery, not just for the characters, but for us as readers, too. And one of the most fascinating things Tolstoy explores is this idea of fate versus free will. He presents us with these characters who are caught up in these massive historical events, wars, revolutions, societal upheavals, yet their individual choices also seem to play a crucial role in shaping their destinies. What are your thoughts on that?
It's such a complex question, isn't it? Are we just products of our circumstances, or do we actually have agency? Tolstoy definitely doesn't offer any easy answers.
He doesn't. Look at Prince Andrei, for instance. At the start, he's convinced that glory on the battlefield is the key to fulfillment. But then he's wounded at Austerlitz, a pivotal battle in the Napoleonic Wars, by the way, and he has this epiphany while looking at the vastness of the sky. He realizes that his ambitions were so small, so insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
It's like he suddenly wakes up to this whole new perspective. His injury, something completely out of his control, forces him to reevaluate his entire life. It makes you wonder if sometimes we need those external shocks to push us toward growth.
That's a really interesting point. And then we have Pierre, who's constantly searching for external validation through wealth, status, even romantic conquests. He joins the Freemasons, hoping to find a sense of purpose and belonging, but it's ultimately his internal struggles, his wrestling with questions of faith and morality, that lead him toward real growth.
So, both Andrei and Pierre, despite their very different paths, are ultimately shaped by their internal journeys, not just the external events happening around them. But what about Natasha? Her life seems to be much more at the mercy of circumstance.
It's true. Natasha is deeply impacted by the people and events in her life. Think about her reaction to Anatole's betrayal. It's utterly devastating. But even in her story, we see the power of choice. She chooses to turn to her faith and her family, and she eventually finds healing and a deeper understanding of herself.
She doesn't become a victim of her circumstances. She finds a way to move forward. It's inspiring, in a way.
It is, and that's the brilliance of Tolstoy. He doesn't give us simple answers or neat resolutions. He presents us with these complex characters and these incredibly intricate lives, and he invites us to consider the interplay between circumstance and choice.
He's not telling us what to think. He's giving us the space to form our own conclusions, which is honestly one of the things I love most about great literature.
Absolutely, and that's why War and Peace continues to be relevant even centuries after it was written. It grapples with these universal questions that we're all still trying to answer. We haven't even touched on the profound impact of war on these characters' lives and how their perspectives on war and peace evolve over time.
Right. Nicholas Rostov, for example. At first, he's full of patriotic fervor and hatred for Napoleon and the French. But then he witnesses their courage and camaraderie on the battlefield, and his views begin to shift. It's a reminder that things are rarely black and white, especially in war.
And the scene with the wounded soldiers in the hospital where we see the human cost of war up close is so poignant. Tolstoy doesn't shy away from the horrors, but he also shows us the resilience of the human spirit, the moments of kindness and compassion that emerge, even in the darkest of times.
It's a reminder that war affects real people, individuals with families and dreams and fears. And what about Princess Maria's unwavering faith? It's a constant throughout the novel, providing her with strength and solace, even in the face of immense suffering.
Yes. Her faith is a source of resilience, and her struggles with her overbearing father and her complex relationship with Anatole highlight the challenges of family dynamics and societal pressures, adding another layer of depth to the story.
It seems like every character, every storyline offers a new perspective on life, on humanity, on the complexities of the world. It's a lot to take in, but it's also incredibly enriching.
It is. War and Peace isn't just a book you read, it's a book you live with. It's a world you inhabit, with characters that stay with you long after you've finished the last page.
And I think that's why it's considered a masterpiece, right? It challenges you, it makes you think, it stays with you.
Exactly. And to help you navigate this vast and intricate world that Tolstoy has created, we want to leave you with a final thought, something to ponder as you embark on your own exploration of War and Peace.
Okay, I'm ready for that final nugget of wisdom.
Throughout the novel, we see these characters wrestling with questions of fate and free will, but I think Tolstoy might be suggesting that it's not a simple either proposition. Perhaps it's the interplay between those forces, the way we choose to respond to the circumstances life throws our way that ultimately defines who we become.
So it's not just about what happens to us,
Hmm.
but how we make sense of it, how we choose to move forward.
Precisely. And that's such a powerful message, even centuries after Tolstoy wrote these words. We all face challenges, setbacks, those moments that feel like they could define our entire lives. But we always have the power to choose how we interpret those experiences and how we let them shape us.
So as you dive into the world of War and Peace, pay attention not only to the grand events and historical figures, but to those intimate moments of decision, those internal struggles, the choices that ultimately lead these characters toward their destinies.
Yes. And as you witness their triumphs and tragedies, their moments of despair and moments of grace, ask yourself, how much control do I have over my own life? And how can I use that agency to create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling?
What an incredible deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on War and Peace, and I'm definitely going to be thinking about those questions you posed.
It's been a pleasure exploring this book with you. And remember, if you want to suggest a book for a future deep dive, drop it in the comments below.
Exactly. We love hearing your
We're-
suggestions. And until next time, happy reading.